everybody, it's Naya. Welcome back to Naya Reads the Smiles. So, good morning, everyone. It is currently 8 o'clock in the morning when I'm filming this. So for anyone who doesn't know, Holly Black is one of my favorite authors. I read 2 of her other books. I read The Cruel Prince and The Darkest Part of the Forest, and both of them were fantastic. I don't know if it was maybe just my high standards that kind of tainted the experience. I don't know why I keep expecting vampire books to be just like really deep and like psychological. Like that is the opposite of what vampires are. Like if there's anybody out there who has like a really good not dramatic because all vampire books are dramatic, but a really good I don't know, just like a sort of Dracula a vampire book, I don't know, the opposite of Twilight. Just let a girl know. Okay, so the beginning of this book started off really weird. In this urban fantasy world, there are these places called cold towns. Basically, a vampire epidemic broke out, and these cold towns were created based off different towns that were quarantined and then ended up just completely becoming their own little isolated areas. Cold towns in the book are these like walled off, highly secured towns where vampires exist. If you're a vampire, you're sent to a cold town and you can't leave. In this book, there's like vampire bounty hunters, and if you bring in a vampire, then you get a marker so you can then get out of the cold town. We're following this character named Tana, and I swear she has to be the most like poorly like genetic human being because she has no instincts, like literally none. It starts off where she wakes up the day after a party. Now she either got drunk and blacked out or something happened. She wakes up in a bathtub and it's morning time. Once the party starts, all the doors and the windows are locked and you can't leave till the morning, which sounds terrifying, but that's basically to protect from vampires because they come out at night. She wakes up and she finds that everyone in the party is dead. We're given like one little like snippet of backstory, and that's that we know that something happened with one of her family members and they were turned into a vampire, and it was a really traumatic experience for her. And ever since then, she's been really terrified of vampires, and even at their schools and stuff, they're taught a lot about vampires. Vampires are basically these creatures that should be feared. Okay, so that's how the whole story starts. Literally in chapter 3, our character ends up going upstairs. She's in shock. She opens the door and she finds her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, tied to a bed and a vampire that's chained to the floor. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. We don't really have too much backstory about who the ex-boyfriend is, but apparently he may or may not have been bitten. Oh, that's the other thing in this book. Like, vampirism works really weird. So when you get bit, you don't immediately turn into a vampire. You can actually get cured as long as you don't drink blood for like 88 days or something like that. I think is it 88 days or is it 99 days? Basically, if you abstain and resist the urge to drink blood for like 12 weeks, then the vampirism poison goes away and you're still human, which is really cool. That's something that I really liked that Holly Black did. The part that really tripped me up is we know so little about Tana in the beginning. All we know is that she's afraid of vampires and that everyone in this party was killed, and that there's a vampire chained to the floor that she then rescues and helps escape the house, even though he was a part of the group of vampires that killed everyone. So right off the bat, our character contradicts her own backstory, and that's like the biggest problem I'm having. Like I said, I'm 150 pages into this book. You're like told all these things about vampires and told all these things about Tana's past, and then she just goes and does stuff that doesn't match up with her backstory. She helps her ex-boyfriend, who might be a vampire, and then this vampire who may have killed some of the people at this party escape, and she makes it her mission to get them to a cold town. The whole first like 100 pages is this road trip, and it just doesn't make sense because she talks about how you can't trust vampires and how they're dangerous, but then she goes and rescues one and immediately trusts him, and it's just I don't know. I'm at the part now where they've reached the cold town and it's just getting more weird. And also the ex-boyfriend in the book, who she's also helping get to this cold town, like, he's such a jerk, and I don't understand why she's like going to such lengths to help him and this vampire. She literally has every reason not to trust either of them. So I don't know. She has really weird motivations, really not liking the main character, which is sad because I love Holly Black and normally her characters are fantastic. My goal today is to finish this book. I'm also currently 150 pages into The Young Elites by Marie Lu. This book takes place in a fantasy world where there was this plague that made a bunch of kids sick, and the ones that survived ended up mutating and getting just like really weird things happening to them. Their hair changed color, some of them they started getting like scales, or they had, you know, things just happening to their body. Of those few children who were changed, some of them then went on to get powers. All these kids are kind of shamed now and killed, thrown in jail if they're found to have powers. We're following a main character who, she is one of the survivors of the sickness, and she ended up like losing her eye, and she doesn't really know if she has powers or anything. She comes from a wealthy family, and after she got sick, her father just sort of shunned her. Ends up falling in with a group of young elites who are a sort of resistant group, who are a rebel group of young elites or kids with powers. So far it's all right. It's just not been a good reading week for me these past few days. I really enjoyed Warcross by Marie Lu, but The Young Elites, it just, like I said, I'm only 150 pages in, but it feels like a story that I've read before. Do you know what I mean? Not to say it's not original, but it follows the exact pattern of a lot of fantasy young adult books where it's like, you know, she runs away from home and then she joins a rebel group and then she has to go through all these trials and tests, and it's just, yeah, I don't know if it's just me not being in the mood to read fantasy. Well, I am in the mood to read fantasy. It's been pretty predictable so far, and yeah, but I'm gonna withhold judgment until I finish it. So I'm hoping these books get better. We're gonna start with this one though, because I'm just ready to get through it. I just had to stop because this scene was too good not to share with you guys. So our girl Tana made it to the cold town. She got her ex-boyfriend there. She got this crazy vampire guy there. Also, she picked up two people along the way. So imagine in a car, right? So imagine there's Bella, and then Edward, and then Jacob, and then in the back seat, two of the most die-hard Twilight fans are in the car with all these characters. We have these two new characters, right, who are die-hard, like obsessed with vampires. They think it's their dark destiny to become vampires, and so they like catch a ride with Tana to the cold town in hopes of becoming vampires when they get there. They run like a whole blog site, and they know a ton about cold towns and how to survive in a cold town once they get there. So Tana lets them come with because they seem to like know what they're doing, sort of. Anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. But the scene that killed me, okay, so they get to the cold town, right? And Tana, just out of the blue, kisses the vampire guy. No, actually, sorry. The vampire guy kisses Tana. We've been getting all these little flashback scenes, these flashback chapters about just vampires and how it all started and how everyone is terrified of them and how they're these bloodthirsty creatures that can't control themselves. But this girl kisses him, okay? After all of this information, they kiss, you know, she's kind of shocked. Normal response would be to kind of back away and run. This girl, okay, goes to kiss him again, but this time she bites her tongue so that her tongue starts bleeding and he can like taste it when he kisses her. Oh, May I also mention that this vampire guy is starving. The entire like half a day road trip that they took to get to this cold town, he hasn't had a drop of blood, so he's like really trying to control his hunger. And she even describes him as being like looking really like dangerous, and she kind of gets scared of him. I guess lust just overtook her. She said in the book, she's like, I wanted to, you know, give him something to remember me by since they were parting ways now. I don't know, it just seems like she just doesn't have good instincts. Like, it's a supernatural fantasy book, Naya. Just, it's okay. Anyway, so that happened. Did I mention the ex-boyfriend is the most awful person ever? Like, I get why he's her ex-boyfriend. I still don't get why she feels the need to help him so much throughout this entire book. She's just been like, first she's trying to get him to the cold town, now she's trying to make sure that he's safe, and I'm like, girl, this dude is a player and he dumped you. No, she dumped him. I don't know, like they don't even have like a long relationship history. They were together for a month and this girl is like about to die for him, and I just Tana as a friend, leave him, dump him, let him die. So anyways, I'm gonna keep reading and I will update when something new happens. So it is currently the next morning, and please excuse the dark circles. I finished the book. Overall, I think I'm gonna give this book a like 5 out of 10. I know that's probably one of the lowest ratings I've given to a book this entire year. Most of the books I've read this year so far have been pretty good, but yeah, I guess there has to be a first, right? I think the last time I updated was during the whole like weird kissing thing that went down. After they got to the cold town, I will say that the book got better. Absolutely love this entire world. I love the idea of cold towns. I love Holly Black's take on vampires. Honestly, like, just ruins books for me is the main character. The main character in this book, like, if it was told from any other perspective, this would be a 10 out of 10 book, but I just don't like Tana. A lot could be avoided if Tana was just like a little bit smarter. I just want to say, like, Holly Black's writing style and just the whole world that she created was fantastic. It's just the characters that killed me. The last 200 pages was interesting. Our main character, Tana, actually has a sister, and that was kind of the thing in the beginning that bugged me as well, was that she kind of just abandoned her family. And I guess in this world, it's normal for, if you become a vampire, for you to just like get up and leave without any sort of goodbye. But I think her younger sister ended up being one of my favorite characters. I'm not gonna spoil why, but more towards the end she kind of comes into the story. Yeah, overall I think I'm gonna give this book a 5 out of 10. I still love Holly Black, but this one just wasn't my favorite of her books. I also read 50 more pages of The Young Elites, and I haven't done this in a long time, but I think I'm gonna DNF this book. To be completely honest, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but it's just so predictable for me. This has just not been my reading week. I just feel like I've read this story before. I'd rather just put this down and pick up something else. To end on a positive note, I have some exciting book haul stuff coming in a few days, so please look forward to that. Until next time, keep reading, and I will talk to you guys later.